Okay, what's up everybody? This is TCOY. We are going to go over another Ottoman game today, specifically focusing on the build order still. So this map specifically, we're going to go into the caster mode. There's a lot of things to be said about the Ottomans, and right now we're just going to go with the standard opening scouts, going for that first sheep. You have 5 villagers on your stone to start off with, and your one villager building the house, the other villagers coming over to the sheep, and the main focus here is just having the practice. Now we're against the Mongol player, and it's ancient spires. You want to specifically on this map, this is probably one of my favorite maps. Head to the middle. You see we got a triple, he got a single, just because we got those early sheep around the sacred site. Usually around this area there should be some sheep, but we want to also just slowly start focusing on getting safety in the base while still maintaining the build order. So the reason why I'm saying that is you have things that can go wrong, especially against the Mongol player. If they go for a very aggressive Uvu, barracks, spearman opening, they're going to put pressure on this gold. And generally on this map, depending on your spawn, you have your side gold, and so there's always going to be a big and a small gold at the back, and some really comfortable expansion like this. But you can see over here the food, the gold and the stone is very separated, so it's good to have that early scout out and just kind of see what you want to go for. Now the Mongol player is also, I think Mongols are probably one of the hardest factions to play against right now. I think Beastie Cutie and Marine Lord and those guys has really streamlined the build order for them so much that the pressure that they put down is so heavy, and that's why you can see I'm expecting the early spearmen to come and the Khan and those type of harassment on the gold. So I'm trying to go for a build order a little bit different, because what they usually do is you go 5 to your stone. Immediately after stone you drop off, go to the wood, get your first wood drop off, and then go over heavy onto food, 10 onto food, and then spawn 2 out onto gold. That's your standard build order. But you can see here I did almost 3 full drop offs. I actually could have finished that extra 5 there, but that's okay. And we're sitting on 7 on the food and 4 on the gold, so going for a bit slower age up, but pushing out the spearmen as well, so that we can start focusing on just having some units out on the field, so if they do go for spearmen, that we are able to counter those spearmen. So just speeding up the process a little bit here, while that's going on, we have an opening right here, so just always make sure you scout out your surrounding. If I can give you guys just a view here, so from my perspective, that's what we've scouted out. So we've went for the middle. As soon as we saw the Khan was on this side, we assumed he's going to roam down, so instead of competing, we came back and did the first loop to drop off the sheep, so we know there's more than enough food for us to go around and collect the rest, gather information. And you kind of want to time your spearmen and your scouting after your first drop off at the right time, so that you can get that. You can see him also moving in from his side now. The Khan is out and the spearmen are out, so there is like some expectation and over preemptive I want to say also defensive stance from the Mongol player to have a defense on the gold, which is very rare for them. They usually don't do this. They usually go for an aggressive play. But you can see here the Khan is coming into the base, going to overextend, just being very aware of what's happening. And immediately we're going to bring our scout. You'll see the path that we're choosing here is all the way down this way, but we will change that soon. There we go. Just so we can immediately come to pick up these stray sheep that he just lost, just to maximize. If you get 8 to 10 sheep, I think the balance is 10-10 for most games. If you get 8 to 10 sheep, you're good. Anything more than that is a bonus on most games. Some maps has a lot more sheep, but that's pretty much the safety that you want to go for. Now, a mistake I also made is when I killed the first sheep, you can see they kind of forced me to build the house a little bit off center here. You want to try and keep that, build the house first before you kill the sheep, so you can get that tile security on the side here. Otherwise this becomes just a little bit messy, and you can see I lose a bit of space here. Now we want to get security, and we know Mongols can tower rush you. They have the early, I think, Keshiks, or that's the Delhi, I'm not sure, but they do have some horsemen and early knights, I think, that they bring out. So we want to stay away from that and focus on playing against our strengths. So if you think about the Ottomans playstyle, your playstyle is not about having the most villagers on the field, because that's not where your value lies. If you go look at the amount of resources you're gathering, right, we are always going to be lower on the resources than what they are currently having, because of how we are investing it. We are investing it into infrastructure, trying to develop an economy that is based on free units. So it's a lot to do with your timing, and I guess that's where the practice came in with the Ottomans for me. I played a lot of the custom skirmishes, doing the master challenges, just so you can kind of keep playing the factions, trying to learn their design and their build orders, and playing around with timings, and understanding that this spearman coming out is a 60-second unit, right? Standard spearman on a English player, he's gonna produce 4 spearmen in a normal barracks. That's 15 seconds. So you're getting 1 spearman where he's getting 4. So you can't just rely on the military school to work in your favor, but where the value gets added is when you start adding up the free resources and playing carefully with your units. Those values add up very quickly. You can see now we transitioned into a hunt. We got the survival techniques. He probably has the same. It's very important to get this if you move over to the deer, because you want to get rid of this food as soon as you can. You can see a very safe forest that he has right here, and just using the spearman, hardened spearman, upgraded to keep the food safe. He has the tower to keep the gold safe, and then the town center to keep the majority of the villagers safe. So a really nice strategy going on right here. Also going for a very early market, just keep an eye on that. But here we go. So in the feudal age, they have the Keshik raiders. Now these guys caught me so off guard a few games ago, because they firstly heal after every attack performed. So they do heal, they have less health, right? A lot less, 145 versus spearmen of 80. So not the strongest health unit early on, but very, very powerful, and very dangerous, because they have this they have the charge of the lancer, and then they have the standard damage. So they do have a lance charge of 23 damage. You can see there in the bottom corner there. So we see the units because we have the line of sight, but this is a defensive wall going up, and you'll see we're trying to get the wall up. He notices, and just 4 villagers, right? We get the upgrade down just now. He's gonna go for the villager, but look how quickly this unit takes damage. And what we are trying to do is go for the pick, but also keep our villagers safe. And that's why we transitioned onto a very different playstyle. I got the stone. Instead of going for a second military school, I went for the upgrade on the outpost, and you can see going down, getting the walls down, just to get the timing right, because you can age up to castle age as the Ottomans, probably by the 9-minute 30 mark, if you play a very, very strict economy game. But this is also crazy because he has the deer stones, which obviously increases traders by 15% the speed. So they are going to play a market game. It's just keep an eye on Mongols, because they have really good trading and nothing to keep eye on. But this is a bit of a waste if you're playing against the Ottomans to go for a stable and going into the Keshiks, because the Keshiks doesn't have the highest armor, and you saw how much damage they took. They only have, well, they actually have 3 range armor, so it's like a man-at-arms, but they don't have crazy high health like a man-at-arms. This is maybe 60 health less than a man-at-arms, so they do take a lot of damage. If you get the upgrades, fair enough, that starts making a difference, and you have to respect the numbers. But we do see this because of the outpost, and all we're trying to do is get into safety of the food. So we have a random spearman out, we have walls coming down, and again he lost that first Keshik. I actually kept him out, so Cool, good job on inside. We lost one villager there, that's okay. We are sending a Sipahi over to see if we can get some harassment down on our own side. But the main focus here right now is this. This is where your value starts adding up, because if you get to 2 to 3 or even 4 military schools, depending on what vizier points you used, that would then make your life a lot easier or harder. And you'll find guys that goes heavy all in feudal that has 10, 20 spearmen, 15 archers, all of that very early on in the game. Even English going for early men-at-arms, if they bring 20 men-at-arms with this army, what do I have? I literally have an outpost that they can siege down, and a town center that they can ram down very quickly, because they can just get the blacksmith upgrade, siege engineering, and then you're in big trouble. So the point I'm trying to make is, we're getting the free food as fast as possible. That's the one check mark. The second check mark is to get your timing right, depending on how aggressive your enemy is. If your enemy is more aggressive, play to their tempo, because you're gonna outscale them just by having your free units. But get the defenses up, even if this means making this a stone wall instead of a wood wall. That would make your life a lot easier. So we have the spearmen now as an extra layer of defense against these Keshik raiders, and you can see now the units adding up very, very much so. So you have to respect that, and you have to kind of keep an eye out for that. Your scout shouldn't be in your base. If you lose your scout, get a scout out, put it in the middle of the sacred side in this, or close off the sides if you feel you can't defend that side. Just play a little bit more defensive with the Ottomans, because they really get rewarded for that playstyle, especially as the time goes on. So you can see we're on resources that would justify going for an imperial age, but we're sitting on very little gold. So you can see how much the gold kind of stops your upgrades from coming through. We're getting the armor upgrade, we getting our first imam out, we have the wheelbarrow upgrade, no pickaxe upgrade, no lumber upgrade, just the outpost. So not a lot of gold invested, but you have to be careful of that. To show I'm playing very, very defensive by preemptively moving the villagers even before they attack, because we have the extra vision. Even the imam moving away, there's the wall going up. They also have a special ability that when they set a building on fire, they get free resources. So just take into consideration that's all the Mongol player wants, is to get any free resources, like the trading that's happening right now, the raiding that's happening right now, the bonus of the Khan. There's a lot of good things happening on their side. Sorry about that, I want to stay in the caster mode. So now all we're doing is, this is a majority heavy spearman versus spearman, or spearman versus Keshik. So even if we get a single pick, that is good, because you're talking about 200 resources that's in our favor, right? These units are all free, so we don't care about losing them. But if we can get, that's 200 resources in our favor. And if we can get another spearman, which I think we got another knight here earlier, maybe, I can't remember, but that's 200 in our favor. Cool. We haven't lost a single thing, except maybe 50 on villager, and investing into the what do you call it, the outpost, right? But mangonel, that's an extra 800 resources right there for free. And what are they going to do? They're either going to over push these units into the town center, but even if we lose the mangonel, it's not a giant loss for us, because we are still sitting on castle age resources. You could even pull this wood line right now. You can pull this whole wood line onto gold and just rush your castle age, but you need to be able to justify it by having enough stone to get your military camps out, having enough space to get your blacksmith out. So I would reckon the blacksmith there would have been better, because then I would have been able to build the military schools up here. But very important to try and get your influences, because you can see the barracks and the archery ranges. This one is in, but these ones are out. So all we're doing right now is using the resources we have, the gold, the food, and the wood, and trying to go for as an aggressive of a play as we can. So he starts burning through this building here, and we have men-at-arms, hardened spearmen, and we also have Janissaries, which does an extra damage versus cavalry. So these cavalry, even though they are now age 3 cavalry, veteran Keshiks, they are going to take a lot of damage from these units. And I haven't responded to this. I don't know why. I think I was focusing on the relic. I'm not sure, but I was not responding to the siege that's happening right here. And I ran around the back. And this is kind of a early, very rookie mistake. I don't know why my army didn't move. I thought the wall, honestly, would last longer than it did. But remember, your heavy melee cavalry does 20 to, 16 torch damage and upgraded 20 siege damage. So they do quite a bit of siege damage. And again, the villagers here to defend the Mangonel, which they didn't do. They were idling. And the whole army pretty much at the back, out of position, and losing quite a few villagers because of this. But again, 60% of this army is free units. On his side, it's a complete loss. You're talking about 1,500 resources lost on his side, and that to me is where the power of the Ottomans lie, because this army, we just lost a few villagers. Yes, I agree, that's not a good thing. He's sitting on 52, we're sitting on 36, and he has trading happening at the back. So on an economy scale, he's so far ahead of us, and all we're trying to do is playing for a timing push. But our second Mangonel is ready, our units are absolutely free, and based on the position we're in, we're still sitting on a comfortable 2,000 food over here. We're sitting with 2,600 in the bank, 600 gold, very comfortable on the gold now, starting to build up wood villages again, getting the free units being trained, and pushing with our advantage now, because he just lost 1,500 resources. We haven't, and that's the thing you have to remember. The Ottomans, and this is also one more thing I feel it's worth mentioning. If you want to play the Ottomans, I don't think the Ottomans, your focus when you're attacking, this is just something I like doing. My focus is never to kill a person outright, especially if you have a small army like this. I would call this a sacrificial army, because you're pushing in, but at most you'll get an outpost, you maybe get the prayer tent, their buildings can move. So what are you really going to achieve? So we're taking the fight to force the loss of units, because he wants to protect his villagers, which is fair. But these units should have just kept running away. What are they defending by standing here? Because he thinks he's getting value out of killing them, but it's 100% a loss for him, because our army is free and we get the Mangonel is still safe, right? But these units are shredding. So I would say that's an extra 2,000 resources that's now lost on his side. We lost the Mangonels, but remember, they're free. There's idle times happening. There is suppression happening on the wood line right here. We sent some men-at-arms to the trading side, and while he's losing units, he lost, let's say a good 2,000 resources worth of units. We're already sitting on, what's this? 6 men-at-arms, Janissaries, really high number of military units in the queue, free units being produced by 4 military schools and Mangonels. You can even transition into trebuchets, but the focus is saving your units, getting strong defensive positions in, as you can see here, and that makes our lives a lot easier. So I'm sending these units, getting the relics, and playing into a point where you're forcing his units to the player to either multitask like a pro player, which a lot of people struggle with, or they have to move into a position that is not advantageous to them. And remember, early on we scouted out which side was the safe side and the productive side. So on his side, he went this side for the gold, but this side probably would be a better expansion for him because he has the gold, food and stone. So this is probably the best side for him to go for, but because he had the trading on this side, this was the side he was expanding to. We got a Janissary there picking up the relic, so just a little bit of game shenanigans, but try and look for his military right now, right? there's not a high number of military units being produced, and at the same time, what is the 7 veteran archers? He has the trading happening, not on very high resources, not able to produce hundreds of units, and he has 2 stables, 3 archery ranges, a barracks, 2 stables, so a lot of production unit buildings, but at the same time he's not producing an army. So keep an eye on the time, right? We're sitting on 18-19 minutes. We're coming back with 4 military units here, having random units here. I was trying to attack the trade from the back here, but we're really transitioning into a position of safety for us, because we can safely attack the relics, transition into safe food, gold and berries. We haven't even started with our berries, which we're starting with now, and at the same time, the mangonel plus most of these units are free, so that's another 2,000 resources again in our favor. So if you think about it like that, every single unit that they lose is a double loss for them and a double win for us. So that's why the early trades, especially if you get your push and your timing on your castle age right, they work into your favor. So we are going to just focus on getting some military production up right now, keeping the Janissary production up, because that's going to be our kicker to stop him from doing cavalry. Our men-at-arms are going to deal with any spearmen. And the Janissaries trade really well against, the archers or anything else, because they counter the cavalry. Yes, they get countered by the veteran archers, so this is going to do 16 damage, right? But the Janissary is going to do 16 damage as well. So 90 health archer has... How much health does the archer have? I actually don't know. 80 health. So if it's a 1v1, the Janissaries is going to win that fight. Even though it's veteran archers, this has a higher stat than the archers and the crossbows have. And the crossbows is complete waste, because they do more damage against the heavy units, so they do really well against the men-at-arms. But you're going to have mass, and we also have a counter with mangonels against them. So very, very difficult to overwhelm the Mongol or the Ottoman player if you don't have the units in very high numbers. So if you're playing against the Ottomans, you have to make sure you have high unit numbers, or when you do decide to go into their base, you have the timing right. So this is also a nice thing. We just got the Vizier point, another 10 Janissaries for free. We have some imams in here for the healing. They do AOE healing as well, so they don't just heal one unit, they heal a group of units, a splash healing. And you can generally, once you get your relics, add them to your army, and when you attack move, they will also heal very comfortably on their own. So again, look at this army. This is 33 men-at-arms. A standard men-at-arm is 100 food, 20 gold. So 40 of them is 4,000 food, about 2,000 gold for that. So that's a lot of resources sitting in this army, and you don't want to lose them. And this army on his side, he has the Khan, 7 veteran Keshiks, 9, the crossbows. So a respectable army against most forces. But against this, it doesn't mean anything. We're sitting on 3 mangonels now. If you ask yourself why the mangonels are coming out so quickly, because they are in the influence of the barracks. So your mangonels are taking 2 minutes each to come out. And he's retreating with his army, but we are going for a death pusher. And this is a huge army. I would say maybe a 50-50 split of free units and units that we obviously spend resources on. But if you look at his resources, we're keeping up with the same dollar for dollar value on the resources, while having really, really high numbers of units out on the field. This is actually ridiculous, seeing them walk like that. Let's just get a nice screenshot of this. I think that's pretty scary. You can even hear the sound. Get square, boys. We want a nice picture here. There we go. Let's get into this fight. So now the Janissaries, look at these numbers, look at these units disappear. Now with the Janissaries, we have 23 Janissaries already in this army. Unbelievably strong units, and this is actually quite a nice move, kiting with the units. So the men-at-arms aren't going to do great, but he's withering them down, and the mangonels aren't getting the shot off, so trying to chase off the threat. But I'm like, okay, well, that's not what I want right now. I want to cause chaos in your base, so I'm going to take these units back eventually, because I don't want my army split up like this, and that will allow my mangonels to get into a position where I can get some shots off. 3 of these shots landing in the middle of that is going to kill this whole army. And we're not focused on, also, like I said, this is a huge army, but it's not focused on killing him outright. This is an army, yes, it is a push to win the game, but even if you lost this whole army, at the back of the base you're still getting production of, we still have safety of the walls, we're still transitioning into extra resources where we can, and these units can die, that's okay. It's not going to end you the game, but it's giving you that lead, because every single resource he loses is a bonus for you. It's a double bonus for you, because it gives you that extra lead. This is the only free resources he's getting, really high gold here, but we're sitting on 3,000 gold, 900 food. We can go Imperial Age so quickly, and then this resource boost goes up by another 20%, and you get another military school. So really important to play into these military schools. But if you're going to try out the Ottomans, focus on safety over your build styles, and I think that would definitely carry you over into a more sustainable long-term victory. If the content was good, please let me know. I think we're trying to get more content out there and showing you guys what works and what doesn't. But if you enjoyed the game, please give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers, goodbye.